I was dealing with a psychopath.
Last night, we introduced you to a therapist who treated a man some Austin officials are now calling a serial killer. Tonight, KXAN investigators continue to dig into the past of Raul Meza Jr. Police arrested the 62-year-old last month for the murder of his 80-year-old roommate. At the time, he confessed to 3 other killings following his release from prison for the 1982 strangling of 8-year-old Kendra Page. Tonight, investigator Avery Travis takes a closer look at those years out on parole and why his case had a lasting impact on the state's parole system.
When convicted murderer Raul Meza Jr. was released from a second stint in prison for violating the conditions of his original release, all eyes were on him. Mesa's got to go. The community, but also the close watch of the state's parole system. Court records show, this time with release conditions so strict that for several years Meza lived at and rarely ever left the Travis County Jail in Del Valle. He also had to comply with sex offender treatment and register as a sex offender. According to regional parole leadership, only one other person they knew of at the time faced this level of restriction.
My recommendations were to not release him. I thought he was a danger to the community.
These strict conditions supported by therapist Vivian Lewis, who interviewed Meza about Kendra Page's murder and then led one of his therapy groups at the jail. Meanwhile, others were fighting to get Meza more freedoms. The Texas Civil Rights Project helped him sue the state, arguing the conditions of release prevented him from getting a job or going to church, and branded him as a sex offender when he hadn't been convicted of rape, only murder. Back then, Texas had just established what are now called Coleman hearings, where the Board of Pardons and Paroles must review evidence before placing sex offender conditions on someone not convicted of a sex crime.
And that's what justice is built on in this country.
A judge in Mesa's lawsuit ruled he had not been afforded this due process, and according to Texas attorney and parole expert Gary Cohen, it forced the state to refine how Coleman hearings were conducted. Cohen ended up representing Meza in a Coleman hearing later on.
If they had tried to help him get a job, if they had tried to help him with counseling, would he have turned out differently? Could he have taken a different path? I don't know. None of us know the answer to that.
As Meza continues to make headlines, Cohen says there's no doubt his civil case impacted Texas' criminal justice system, setting precedent for future cases.
We all like and don't like some parts of the law, but I think that in Coleman and Meza, the decisions that we have advanced criminal justice by providing due process when it was lacking.
Keep in mind, Meza was originally released on parole early because of a law at the time requiring someone's time served to count for their mandatory release. But shortly after Mesa's case made headlines, Texas lawmakers decided to overhaul that, allowing the parole board to deny someone's release if it believes they're a danger to the public. Around the same time, lawmakers were tackling other changes to the penal code, the prison system, and with the advent of electronic monitoring, the parole system too. We talked to a former lawmaker from back then who created what's known as super intensive supervision, one of the other conditions Meza was placed under that's still in place today.
Historically, you've had degrees of supervision of individuals, and this just provided for the most serious individuals that are under supervision.
Mesa's original sentence for Kendra Page's murder expired in 2017, and now police say they believe he continued to kill. He's being held in connection with 2 murders. APD says it's eyeing him as a suspect in as many as 10 cold cases.
That was Avery Travis reporting. You can find more details to this story as well as follow all of our investigations into Raul Meza's criminal history online right now at KXAN.com.